Frontiers.
Hello, listeners. We have another Future Frontiers episode for your ears. It's one of the episodes where we talk about what we've been up to, have a bit of a check-in, and look at what's out in cinemas, what's coming to TV, and talk all things sci-fi, as we tend to do on this sci-fi-based podcast. Isn't that right, Matt?
Yeah, and today's Future Frontiers is going to have to last you for the summer because we are off packing our bags on our summer holidays. And this is going to be the last episode coming out on the feed for a little while we take our summer break. So we will be back in a few weeks' time after we've enjoyed all of the blockbuster movies coming out this summer, some of which we'll be talking about today.
Oh, there's a lot of good stuff coming out over June and July, and I'm very much looking forward to it. But what have you been up to, Matt? What have you been watching? What have you caught up on? What's been going on with you?
Since the last time we spoke, I have been binging through Invincible on Prime. Have you watched that?
Yes. I am fully up to date on that as well. This is exciting.
So I picked up The Boys and Invincible a while ago, and I didn't keep up The Boys. I didn't particularly love it. But Invincible I stuck with and I absolutely loved it. And they released season 3 when I was sort of like midway through season 2. So I just cruised through the whole thing in one go and I absolutely loved it. Have you been watching that since it came out?
Yes, since it came out, I was very interested in this show. It's based on a comic book series, and it's about a character called Mark Grayson, who is the son of a big superhero called Omni-Man, who is the most powerful superhero on the planet. And it's about him developing his powers, finding out the truth about his family, and it goes on some twists and turns, and it's got an all-star cast of voice actors on this. Lots of names you'd recognize. Who have we got in the cast? We've got Stephen Yen as Invincible, playing the main character, Mark Grayson. Mark Hamill's in there as well.
Yes, he's got quite a small role. J.K. Simmons is his dad.
J.K. Simmons, of course.
Sandra Oh, his mum.
J.K. Simmons as Omni-Man is the best casting.
Yeah. Yeah, he looks like his character. I mean, he's got greying hair and a mustache, so that sort of ticks your boxes. I mean, J.K. Simmons hasn't got hair, but you know.
Well, it's J. Jonah Jameson, isn't he? He's playing the character from Spider-Man as a superhero almost.
Yeah, pretty much. Seth Rogen crops up. He's also a producer on it, I think. He produces a lot of stuff for Prime. And I've also started watching his Apple TV show, The Studio, which is excellent.
Oh, I need to watch that. Lots of people have been telling me about that and how close it is to the real industry, which is a bit scary.
It's very funny. And I have also been making my way through Twin Peaks on a big Twin Peaks rewatch, which I started because friend of the show, Mike Munzer, was hosting a screening of Fire Walk with me. So I was trying to binge through the whole TV show before that screening. And then I've carried on and I've just finished the first book, The Secret History of Twin Peaks, for the first time.
Ah, that's like a big sort of like tome of a book, isn't it?
Yeah, genuinely like quite difficult to read as well because it's like a dossier of files and like the main character is kind of narrating it through footnotes. And it's also like not very good, to be honest with you. It was incredibly hard work, but I plowed through that and I can start on The Return and rewatch that, which I'm really looking forward to. And listening to Mike's watch-along podcast that he does with Stacey Ponder, which is excellent.
Very, very good podcast produced by a very good friend of ours, which is always nice.
What about you? What have you been watching and reading and enjoying?
What have I been watching? I have been watching The Last of Us, like I said on the last Future Frontiers episode. It has now finished for the series. And I'm not going to say too much, Matt, because I know you haven't watched it yet. But listeners, if you've seen the finale, can you tell me in the comments if you were disappointed? Because I've got to say, Matt, I was very disappointed by the finale of this series. It ended on a real note. I was like, oh, okay, is that it? And it looks like they're going to change things up for the next series.
They're doing more, are they?
Yeah, but it looks like they're just... It doesn't look like it's going in a direction I wanted it to go. There's kind of a almost a flashback thing going on. And I'm just like not sure if I'm interested in what's happening in the flashback or not. So yeah, we'll see.
Well,
But
you
there'll
might
be
become interested in
I
it.
I might. I'm gonna give it a chance, but it didn't feel like a finale. You know, when you get to the end of a series, you want a real sort of big moment where you're like, oh, I can't wait for the next series to start. It kind of has something like that, but at the same time, it's like, oh, we're going to find out what happens, and then it takes that away from you because you know where it's going to go next series. So it's one of those ones.
Are they still covering the game? Have they finished the game, or are they heading into kind of uncharted territory plot-wise?
I'm pretty sure they're still covering the game. I think the next bit will be like the second half of the game.
I see.
But yeah, I'm not as familiar with it. I have just started playing the game as well, but part of me wants to finish Elden Ring before, because I'm a massive nerd and completist like you.
Yeah.
So I'm
you
just
got
like,
100% it. You got to read all the books.
You can't 100%
You got to pick up all
that.
the objects and look on the bottoms and stuff
I will
in case
never-
there's a Easter egg.
I'll never finish that game if not. I just want to finish the last boss and then not play it again because it really frustrates me. It's the most stressful thing. I just want it gone so I can play something nice like The Last of Us, which is probably going to frustrate me as well. But that's the life of playing video games. Also, there was lots of news about the new Doctor Who, like the latest Doctor Who finale. Were you up to date with that?
I'm so far behind on Doctor Who. I stopped in the early Jodie Whittaker days with all the best intentions of getting caught up. But the years slipped by me and the doctors slipped by me. And we're 2 or 3 regenerations gone, and I don't even understand how the regenerations work anymore because they're regenerating and then going back to who they were, and there's side regenerations and stuff that I have absolutely no idea what's going on with Doctor Who, I'm afraid.
Me neither, but I've seen lots of posts about how, spoilers if you're watching Doctor Who, maybe skip this little bit, but Ncuti, who is the main Doctor at the moment, is coming away from the program. He's leaving.
Wait. Well, let's handle these spoilers a little bit, because I think I know what the spoiler is, because I go on the BBC News website every day, and for some reason, somebody at BBC News had made the decision to write a headline for an article that describes a major thing that happens to the Doctor, to Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor, which was pretty mad. I don't care that much because I'm so behind on it that, you know, a spoiler, it doesn't really mean anything to me now. But it was like within a day, within a day of the episode or something like that. And I thought it was an incredibly strange decision. I know the information is going to be everywhere, but it's like BBC News, you're kind of like you're the same organization spoiling your own product. I just didn't really understand why they did that.
Yeah, it's like, how are they going to work that out with the next series? Like, where do they go from there? And yeah.
Oh, well, they can write themselves out of any corner on Doctor Who. It's the easiest thing to sort of undo a decision, I think, on Doctor Who.
It almost feels like they were worried about how the series was going, so they thought, let's make a really big standout moment at the end and put it all over BBC News because we need some extra publicity for the next series. Because I don't know if Disney's moving away from the next series, because Disney had lots of money pumped into the last series of it.
Yeah, surely they're not moving away. They're heavily invested.
We'll see. But we'll discuss that again later on in today's episode. But what is coming up in cinemas over June and July? So what are the big things to hit the big screen shortly? So first thing on my list, I don't think it's hitting cinemas, but it's going to be on streaming, is yet another new Predator film. We talked about the new Predator trailer.
Yeah, I did a double take when I saw this.
Yeah. When I put this down in the document before today's episode, you were like, oh, we've done this. What are you doing?
I thought they just confirmed the title or something, but no.
No, so they're doing another Predator film. If you can't get enough of the Predator franchise, they're doing an animated anthology film, again by Dan Trachtenberg, who did Prey, the latest in the Predator franchise. And this actually looks quite interesting. When we did our episode on Prey, we talked about all the different places you could put a predator and the different sort of historical backgrounds and things like that, and all the interesting places you could do a adventure with that character. And it looks like they're doing that in this film. So it's an animated anthology, and it's got 3 distinct stories being set in different eras. So one is set in Scandinavia in the Viking era. We've got one in feudal Japan and one's happening during World War II in Florida. So you've got 3 different predators, 3 different stories. And I think this could be really interesting, you know. What do you reckon about that as a premise?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very cool. I think it's good to get Dan Trachtenberg back. I think it's weird to have him directing, even though it's like a 3-part anthology. I think there is another person directing as well, so I don't know how they're dividing duties. But it reminds me of Animatrix, you know, kind of drumming up the interest in the product in a fun way, like with like a little bit of extra, like what you might expect to go on, I don't know, like DVD extras or like a special edition or something that don't exist anymore. And we're just getting like a little bit more. And rather than just plastering it on the side of buses in London for a month for the new movie, something creative to drum up the interest is pretty cool. There's a slight risk of like oversaturation, but I don't think that's a problem yet, you know, because we've been a bit, you know, there's not a great deal of like Predator film and TV, so I welcome a bit more in there.
Yeah, I think between this and them doing Alien Earth later on in the summer, I believe, I'm not sure the exact date of that being released, they're really sort of making the most of that IP. They released Romulus last year, I think it was, and then now they're going back to the Predator series. So it feels like, because Disney kind of owns all of that now, so it's where they can take it and what they can do differently to try and, again, like you say, drum up interest in that franchise once again.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool and exciting, and that's coming out on June the 6th, ahead of the release of Badlands later.
Yeah, so if you're listening to this now, it should already be out.
Oh yeah, that's tomorrow time of recording, so I'm looking forward to watching Killer of Killers.
Yes, looking forward to that. What else do we have coming up in cinemas then, Matt, film-wise?
New Pixar sci-fi, which is a cool prospect. Have they done a sci-fi since WALL-E? I can't remember.
I don't know if they had.
Elio or Elio or Elio, I don't actually know how to say it. I think it's Elio. Coming out on June 20th, about a little boy going on a big space adventure and becoming an inadvertent ambassador to us all out in space. Sounds fun.
Yeah, so I watched the trailer for this, and it's basically a little kid who wants to be abducted by aliens. I can't imagine wanting that to happen as a child. I think that'd be terrifying.
Yeah, probably one of my top 5 fears when I was a child was that aliens were going to come into my house and get me. So pretty mad. I can't relate. But that's fine. I'm an adult. I'm not supposed to relate, I don't think, to Elio. And I can just enjoy some fun, light-hearted sci-fi.
Yeah, I think that would be a good one for family and kids. And I'm definitely interested to see how that will do, because it feels like I haven't really heard that much about it in the grand scheme of things. And when you compare it to stuff that's coming out at the moment, like Lilo and Stitch, that seems to be all over the place. Will they be able to get this new property out and have the same kind of marketing over it that they have for these like returning franchises or these new Disney films which are live action? Will they get the same sort of interest? We'll have to wait and see, I guess.
Well, I don't know. But I mean, it's coming out quite soon. It doesn't seem to be that much marketing behind it. So it hasn't got I think because it's not a legacy kind of IP and they're not pumping as much money and trying to make it as big of a deal. But it's still a Pixar movie. People like Pixar.
Yeah.
I guess the problem for how much money they make is, I mean, I do it with every Disney film. The first thought I have is like, do I want to go and see that, or can I just wait because it'll be on Disney Plus in a month or two?
Yeah, that's the thing as well, because they go so quickly into Disney Plus now. I think that's a real problem. But what else do we have coming up in cinemas? We have 28 Years Later, which we've been talking about a lot on Patreon. We did an episode where we covered 28 days and 28 weeks later in preparation for watching this new one from Danny Boyle and Alex Garland. So are you excited for more 28 insert year, week, day franchise?
Big time, yeah. This is probably the film I'm most looking forward to this summer for me. I talked about it when we did our episode on Patreon about the first 2 films. Particularly, I like the franchise. I really like the first film, and I really, really like Danny Boyle and Alex Garland, and particularly the combination of those 2 working together as writer and director is a really exciting prospect. So I'm really hyped up for 28 years later. How about you?
Yeah, same here. And I think the idea of revisiting it, like almost, 3 decades later, and seeing what's happened to the rage virus and seeing how that outbreak has affected the people of like the UK and how they've survived it. I think it's centered on a small island from what I've seen in the trailer. And yeah, I'm just really excited to see what happens with it. And they've already got spin-offs planned. There's loads of stuff in the pipeline. I'm just worried that, again, it might be the sort of oversaturation of a franchise, like we're saying with Predator. They might go a bit overboard.
Yeah, I'm not at all excited for the sequels to 28 years later, but that's a problem for later, or it never needs to become my problem if I don't go watch them. But I'm really interested in 28 years later, and there's other stuff like behind the scenes stuff as well. Just how is it going to feel for the filmmakers to return to this franchise? I really loved T2 Trainspotting. I loved how sensitively he returned to those characters and that story, and the love and reverence he showed to his own work without it being like kind of up his own arse and up the film's arse. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for the same treatment in the 28 Days franchise, and I believe Danny Boyle is capable of it. So yeah, really, really excited for it.
Well, fingers crossed for that on June 20th. We'll also be doing a Patreon episode especially for that release. What else do we have coming out? There's Megan 2.0 from June 27. Now, we covered Megan on Patreon, didn't we?
Yeah, I really enjoyed Megan. I think we both liked it, didn't we?
Yeah, it was good. It was good fun. It was another Blumhouse sci-fi horror spectacular. They're really good at putting out just like fun, independent films. And this is revisiting Megan and revisiting this, again, another franchise model here. So this is set 2 years after Megan's initial rampage, where she went crazy and did a lot of crazy stuff, including a special TikTok dance. In this film, her creator resurrects her to combat Amelia, who is a military-grade android built using Megan's technology. So it's a kind of android robot versus robot situation. Nice. So I'm kind of interested to see how they're going to do this, because they're very knowing, Blumhouse, and the guys which made the initial Megan, they knew what they were doing with the kind of homages to various different things like Terminator, obviously as the main comparison, all of that kind of AI gone mad. So with this, are they going to try and do like a Terminator 2 and make... It already sounds like it. Is Megan going to be like...
Megan's like the good guy in this one.
Yeah, the friendly, thumbs up, smiling Arnie Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I think it's more like the reluctant need to resurrect Megan. The enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of thing. That sounds like the plot they're going for. But it'll be interesting to see like where these characters end up at the end of the film. And does Megan get allowed to just walk off into the sunset to go on some other rampage because Gemma doesn't try and re-imprison her or whatever?
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I think it'd be quite good. I like the first one, and it ended in such a way that you're like, well, they'll get another one out in a couple of years' time, and here it is. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Megan 2.0.
Yeah, it was a fun time at the cinema, so I'm hoping for more of the same with that sequel. We've also got a few films coming out in July, and as we're having a bit of a break, let's talk about some of those big ones that are going to hit the big screen. So we've got Jurassic World Rebirth coming out on July 2nd. What do you feel about the prospect of a new Jurassic Park?
Pretty neutral, I think, because I don't really care about this franchise anymore, right?
I'm feeling a trend, Matt.
But I haven't seen the last two, I don't think. I've no idea what's going on in the Jurassic world. But this is sort not like a reboot, but it sort of launches off away from the Chris Pratt ones, doesn't it? It's got a new cast and it's called Rebirth, right? So I don't know, I might go and see it, and it's kind of, so I feel a bit more neutral. I didn't like Jurassic World very much, but I did rewatch it recently and it wasn't as bad as I remember, but I didn't feel like watching the sequels after I saw it. So I'm kind of just, I'm open to be drawn back into Jurassic World, but I'm not like excited about it or anything. How about you? Are you all up to date on Jurassic films?
Yeah, I'm all up to date. I think with Dominion, which was the last one, they tried to do this whole thing where they brought back the old cast from the original Jurassic Park, and I was really excited for that, but they just got underused. and it didn't feel like the same group of people. It just didn't click. There was too much going on. They were trying to do too much at the same time. And I think they've kind of learnt from that. So they're going back to basics a bit from the looks of this one. So it's set 5 years after the events of the last film. So they're making a deliberate effort to kind of be like, oh yeah, that happened. Now this is happening. So they've got Scarlett Johansson's in it, Mahershala Ali. They're trying to reinvent this slightly. And I think it's an extraction team going to a remote island facility where all like the worst dinosaurs are. Is where all the really bad ones are kept. But that feels like every single time there's like, oh, this is where the really bad ones are. They're on this island or they're in this facility.
This T-Rex is the son of 1,000 murderer T-Rexes. He's a real bastard.
Now that I can get on board for if that's what they're doing.
We couldn't keep this T-Rex with all the other T-Rexes because he was so evil.
Yeah, I feel like that might be the vibe for this one.
All right, I'm on board.
But hey, I'm willing to go in and find out and see if it's any good. So we got Jurassic World. Are there any other big films you're thinking about watching?
Well, probably what feels like it might be one of the biggest releases of the year is Superman on my birthday, July the 11th.
Oh.
A little Kryptonian birthday present for me. I don't know how I feel about this. I think it might be quite good, but I don't want to get too invested in it because it also might be absolutely rubbish. How are you feeling about it? You're a big comic book fan. How do you feel about Superman, and how do you feel about James Gunn's Superman?
I mean, look, Superman's a staple of superheroes. His name is literally Superman. He is the superhero. But I think there's a lot riding on this, isn't there? It's James Gunn's big reboot of Superman. And it looks like they're packing in a lot of stuff into this film.
That's a concern, yeah. There's a hell of a lot of characters.
Yeah, and it's all kind of about Superman gets into trouble over something, he helps someone, and then the government get involved, and it's kind of they're all out to get him. So I don't know how they're gonna spin this one, but they've also got Crypto, the super dog, in there as well. So it feels very James Gunn already, and I know he's capable of putting this kind of stuff together. I really enjoyed the Suicide Squad film that he did, but again, that's lots of characters. You have to really get to know them in a short space of time.
But he pulled that off. He has pulled that off in, as you say, the Suicide Squad and the Guardians films.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
He can juggle an ensemble cast.
Yeah, so I mean, I've got faith in it, but also I know there's a lot riding on it. So yeah, this will be a really interesting one to see how it goes down amongst fans and amongst like regular cinema goers who are just going to watch a big blockbuster. And is it going to be different enough that it kind of bypasses some of that superhero fatigue, which has been present for the past however many years since like Infinity War.
Well, speaking of superhero fatigue, another big release out in July on the 25th is the Fantastic Four First Steps, which is another one. We spoke about this, I think, presumably off mic, where I almost was starting to get excited because I thought it might be like something a bit fresh and new. And you were like, yeah, probably not. What's your how are you feeling about Marvel's next? I mean, is it a new phase? I don't even know. I'm not kept up with the phases anymore.
Yeah, who knows? I did watch Thunderbolts the other day, and that was kind of like it felt like they're trying to do something different, but it is kind of similar kind of formulas. But then there's only so much you can do with this kind of film. I think we talked about Fantastic Four last time. I was excited about the fact it's set in the 60s.
Yeah,
I'm still excited about that. But I think there's going to be surprise villains in there. You've got Galactus as the sort of like the big bad in this. But I think there's going to be something which kind of links it into the rest of the MCU. There's already there's an Easter egg at the end of Thunderbolts, which kind of establishes something which might happen at the end of this. So they're already all over the place and trying to plan ahead as to what's going on. But yeah, I'm going to watch it because I have to watch all of these now, completist. But we'll see how that goes.
And when's Harry Styles coming back?
He's never coming back, Matt. He's done.
Oh, no.
He's done. So Salma Hayek and all of her
Who did Salma
pals.
Hayek play?
She was in the Eternals. She was one of the superpowered Eternals, but that didn't do
Oh,
very
yeah, right, okay. Yeah, that film was awful.
well. Poor Chloe Zhao. She tried.
What is coming up on TV? What sci-fi shows have we got to look forward to this summer?
So there is a new series of Resident Alien which just started. Listeners which are familiar with Resident Alien, it's a Alan Tudyk TV series, and it's all about an alien who crash lands on Earth in a small Colorado town and is initially there to kind of wipe out humanity, ends up impersonating the identity of a physician, and it's kind of like him getting to know the townsfolk. But they're now on series 4. I've watched a few episodes of series 1. It didn't grab me initially, but obviously it's got a dedicated fan base now for it to keep getting renewed. So it's one which I'll be interested to visit. It looks like there's lots of new stuff going on. I think there's something about him becoming human in this latest series. I don't know if that was in the previous series that I saw like a trailer for, but that is out as well. It's coming from Sci-Fi, so that is out now. What else do we have? We've got Ironheart, more superhero stuff for you, Matt, as if you can't get enough already.
Yeah, Marvel absolutely pouncing like a cat on the success of Wakanda Forever. Just a mere 4 years ago. When did that come out? And giving the side character of Riri Williams her own series. Why has it taken them such a long time to make this show? It seemed obvious that was ripe for a spin-off when she was introduced flying around in Wakanda Forever.
I think I read that they filmed this pretty much after that, and they just had to shelf it because they weren't ready for the rollout, which is mad.
What? They've just been sitting on it.
Yeah, I think they've did a few reshoots and things like that as they keep doing. But yeah, so it's all about Riri Williams, who is kind of aspiring to be like Tony Stark. She creates her own kind of Iron Man suit, but it's the Ironheart suits, and it's a full Disney Plus series on her. So it'll be an interesting one to see. I'm not massively excited about it, but I think that's just because, like you say, they've been sitting on it for so long and they've just not really pounced on it like they should have done.
Confusing. I don't know what kind of rollout they were planning that didn't include capitalizing on any interest that existed after Wakanda Forever, but fair enough. Who am I to judge? Also, she's like really young, isn't she? So is she doing press for this and she's like 3 or 4 years older than she appears in the show, which would be like noticeable at her age?
I mean, she must be. I'd love to. I'm definitely gonna have to look into this to see if that's true. But yeah,
like a 30-year-old woman. Like, looking back at it,
yeah, it's really fun to make. I can't remember any of the making of it because it was like 4 years ago. But yeah, no, it'll be an interesting one to visit and see where it goes. She might look a bit older when she returns for the next Avengers.
Time jump,
of course. That'll fix it.
Later in the month, we have got the final season of Squid Game, the third and final season, coming like hot on the heels of season 2, which was only a few months ago, wasn't it?
It feels like it. It's probably been longer.
It was December, I think.
Was it December?
Around then, yeah.
I still haven't watched it either. Oh, there's too much to watch.
Have you seen season 1?
I've seen season 1, yeah.
Season 2 was good.
Was it?
I was surprised because season 1 felt so much like, just when you see like a debut thing from an artist, and it wasn't a debut by the creator. He'd done other stuff before, but like sometimes, like difficult second album, that sort of thing, like a band released an amazing album, they've been thinking about it like for their whole lives leading up to that point, and then the second one just like doesn't match up. I thought that was what it was going to be, and I was really impressed that season 2 captured the tone and felt the same and felt like a genuine continuation and a necessary or at least warranted continuation of the story. But I don't think it's a spoiler to say that season 2 ends quite abruptly on a cliffhanger, and not like a cliffhanger that feels like an end of season cliffhanger. It feels like half a season. So I was glad to know that season 3 was coming fairly soon after. But I think they probably should have just made one season, a second season that was the final season, basically. So don't worry too much if you haven't seen season 2. I would watch it all in one go when season 3 comes out, and you'll probably have a better experience of it.
Okay, well, I might just do that. So the next series is coming out June 27th. So I'm going to keep an eye out for that, and then we're just going to binge it in one go. That'll be fun. That'll kill some time, to be sure.
Yeah.
And finally, in June as well, we've got The War Between the Land and the Sea, which I alluded to this earlier. It's more Doctor Who chat. So it's a Doctor Who spin-off where UNIT, who are the kind of... How would you describe UNIT? They're the human military government agency looking after the world.
Doctor Who stuff.
Yeah, Doctor Who stuff.
Yeah.
They're protecting...
and they work with the Doctor a lot.
Yeah.
And the Doctor is a regular feature, I guess, in the offices of UNIT. And they're really old as well, way before Torchwood was a thing. Because UNIT is from back in like John Pertwee days, I think. Maybe even before.
So UNIT are confronting the resurfacing Sea Devils. Again, this is kind of another callback to the old Doctor Who. So I think it's a way to kind of refresh UNIT and the idea of that. I feel like the Sea Devils, they had a special of those, like fighting them, and there's something similar, like in a Doctor Who special ages ago in the 60s or something. But again, I'm not enough of a Whovian to comment on that. But it'll be interesting to see how they kind of make this a spin-off yet still connected to the Doctor Who universe. And is it going to be different? Is it going to get a new fan base? I know it's only 5 episodes, but it's just like, where's this going to land for people?
Yeah, but you can see it's the sort of franchising out of the franchise, I guess, across Disney now. And I guess eventually they're going to want another tab, on Disney Plus that says Doctor Who when you first log on.
Yeah, franchise the franchise.
Yeah, and then into July we have a bit more Sci-Fi TV coming. Apple TV Plus are doing a 3rd season of Foundation, continuing the story of the Foundation, which I have not kept up with. We watched a few episodes when it first came out to discuss on Patreon. Have you watched any more of Foundation since then? Do you know what's going on in the universe of Foundation?
Yeah, I've kept up with it, and it keeps doing big time jumps, like lots of time passes in between the series.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's been really interesting to watch because they keep going forward in time. There's lots of different means by which they do that, and you're seeing the different generations of the sort of the leaders. What is it? It's like
the 3
Dusk.
emperors.
Yeah, the 3 emperors. So you're seeing them age throughout the series as well, which is quite interesting.
Is he the only consistent character then, or is that a spoiler to say?
Well, you've got all those 3 characters, but then it's like they keep switching roles. So there's like a new dawn, and there's a new dusk, and there's a new day, because they keep just getting older. And then it's like, you remember the other one from the previous one, and there's lots of stuff going on about the development of their characters. There's other characters coming in the sort of like the peripheries, which they're sort of alluding to in the next series. And it's just really interesting because it's very expansive, and they've really created this whole world just based off that book. And I think they've taken a lot of poetic license in how they put it together, but I think it pays off for fans of sci-fi and fans of big expansive worlds.
That's cool. Yeah, I think the books do jump through time as well, don't they? I think they're all at different time periods. But I think we learn there's no emperor in the books anyway. That's a creation of the TV show.
Yes, they've kind of added that in. But yeah, I would recommend watching that. I will certainly be watching that when that comes out on July 11th. I'll be waiting for Apple TV Plus to release that.
Okay. Shall we do some listener questions, James?
Yes, let's have a look in the mailbox.
You've got mail.
Okay, so first we've got a question from Keith who asks us, back on the topic of Fantastic Four, with the new Fantastic Four movie coming out this summer, how do the various versions, the original comics, cartoons, the Roger Corman version, the 2000s films, Fant Four Stick, and the new one fit into the mad science genre? How mad is Reed Richards really? So tying into our current ongoing main series on mad science, how do you view Reed Richards, the leader of the Fantastic Four, through the lens of a mad scientist?
I mean, he's a little bit mad, isn't he? The fact that he takes his love interest, his family and friends up into the cosmos in a spaceship, and then it all goes tits up and they get turned into the Fantastic Four. One of them turns into a giant orange rock monster. That's
Rock monster.
like, I mean, that's pretty hubris. Like, there's a lot of hubris involved in that, isn't there?
There's hubris in that, yeah. But then, I don't know, I'm not that familiar with the Fantastic Four apart from the movies. I probably watched the cartoon when I was little, but I can't remember it. But my sense is that Reed Richards is a bit mad, but always right.
Yeah.
Like, he's kind of like, I mean, he's the smartest guy in the room, and that hubris never seems to be his undoing, apart from that initial experiment. But it gave him all superpowers and turned him into superheroes anyway.
I feel like in the comics he was quite impulsive, like in the early comics, and he was quite ego driven. There's a meme of Mr. Fantastic when he turns evil having like a proper fight with Sue Richards, his wife. He's bit of an arsehole, but I think that was part of the storyline, but it just doesn't track now. And yeah, so he used to be kind of like that, but they've softened him, especially when they did the animated series. I feel like they softened his role.
Oh, right. He's wasn't he like a big player in the Illuminati in that whole saga? So maybe he gets more into the mad science when he's playing that role. Is it the Illuminati? That's what they're called, the group that are kind of pulling the strings prior to Civil War and stuff.
Yeah, because they have them in the comics on the big Civil War stuff. I think the way they adapted it to screen didn't quite track because they kind of made a mess of it and they kind of did like a fan casting
there's no Reed
for
Richards
it.
in it, is there?
Yeah, well they fan casted it, didn't they? They gave John Krasinski, so he played Reed Richards in that as the sort of Fantastic Four.
In the multiverse of madness.
In the multiverse, that's what they had the Illuminati in there.
And
Yeah, and he's always sort of like, I don't know, in the best sort of adaptations of him, he's kind of like this goofy science dad, I feel.
Yeah, right.
Like he's I think they're really hamming this up, especially with Pedro Pascal in the new one. I think they're going to make him kind of this, he's going to be like the science guy, Bill Nye the Science Guy. I think they've already got him. Like I saw a preview of there's a bit where he's doing like a science experiment and it's like Mr. Fantastic. So I think that kind of, and they're making him a dad in this new film apparently. So all of that I think will really be good in sort of making him a bit softer. But I think if you look at like Fant4stick, he's very, I don't know, he kind of seems like a bit of a dick in Fant4stick from what I remember.
Yeah, he's arrogant, but not in a fun, mad scientist way.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how Pedro Pascal plays him. It's like he's an optimistic scientist, isn't he?
Yeah, and that's not mad enough, I don't think. I wonder if the Maker is a more fun, mad science character. Do you know much about the Maker?
Who's the Maker?
The Maker's like the new-ish evil Reed Richards, who I think he's the Reed Richards from the Ultimate Universe. But I think he may have destroyed the Ultimate Universe and then remade it. And now he's trying to get into the main universe in the comics. And he wears a cool hat.
Lovely. And I remember, like, what did you think of Tim Story's Reed Richards, played by Ian Griffiths? What did you think of his character in that?
I mean, I like Tim, but I don't think he's a very interesting character in those films. I think Ian Griffith's not really given much to get into. He's a really good actor, but
yeah, I think it was just those films as well. And they were very much a money grab from Fox, hence why you had certain characters playing Doctor Doom. Looking at you, guy from Nip Tuck, who I can't remember your name. Yeah, he's good, well. But it's like, it's just because they did Nip Tuck. But I'm not going to get into that. Let's have another question.
Okay. All right. Malcolm has written to us and said, after reading an amazing retrospective book and watching the recent BBC episodes, I think you mean Disney episodes.
Still BBC.
I've gone back into the Doctor Who vortex. I love Rose, but still can't get into Eccleston, Capaldi, or Whittaker. All great actors, though. My childhood doctors were Tom Baker, Jelly Baby, and Peter Davison. I love Matt Smith and, of course, Tennant. It's a Time Lord arm wrestle between Tennant and Baker for Best Doctor. Who are yours, guys? Who's your favourite Doctor, James?
I like both parts of the spectrum with the Doctor. So I really liked Christopher Eccleston because he was mad and a bit dark. He had this cool leather jacket, and it was like reinventing Doctor Who. But I also really like Matt Smith because he was so quirky and he had like the bow tie. And there was just something sort of comical about his portrayal of it, which I really liked. And I think the storylines of his series were really good with like Amy Pond and all of that. So I think for me, it's those two arm wrestling. So yeah.
Yeah, I think, I grew up on like Pertwee and Baker and a little bit Davison and McCoy eras as well, but I don't remember that very well. Like I have memories of watching it, but I couldn't tell you any of the storylines or anything. And then when I kind of like plowed through and did a massive rewatch a few years ago of everything that was available, I think I lean a bit towards Matt Smith because he could do the kind of light and shade of the Doctor really well. And Tennant could as well, but he really reveled in the Misery Guts Doctor.
Yeah, he was that,
episodes, like he's standing in the rain crying and stuff. There's just a huge amount of that with David Tennant, which he was good at, but I like the balance of it. And also I've got a lot of love for Peter Capaldi. I think he was an excellent Doctor. I think it's when the writing of the show really started to get worse and worse was during his tenure, but that's not on him. Like his performance was always, I thought, spectacular, and he brought it back to a darker performance of the Doctor, just a mean old man, basically, and he was great at it. So his series are well worth a watch, but like the writing does start to get a bit crappy.
What about Paul McGann? Do you remember Paul McGann, the Doctor Who movie?
Yeah, I remember that. He was great.
I remember being so hyped up about that because I was like, "Oh, it's the new Doctor Who."
I know, yeah. And wasn't it like a very millennium event as well?
It was all just coming at the same time. Like, when did that come out?
Like, if the world doesn't end, we get a Doctor Who movie and everything's going to change.
It felt like that anyway. I'm not sure when it came out. Maybe it was like 90s.
It
might have been earlier,
yeah.
but it's just like, I remember it being like a big moment. It was, I kind of think about it as the same time as when the National Lottery came on TV. Like I remember being that being a big moment, like the National Lottery and Doctor Who the movie. Don't ask me why. It's just the way my mind worked.
Yeah, he's great. He's great in that. I haven't watched it for a very long time. I was very happy that he got like a very small cameo. I think they bring him back like for just very small moments later on in the reboot series, just to sort of smooth out the continuity of how he became Christopher Eccleston and some of the stuff with the War Doctor and stuff like that, just sorting all that out in their messy continuity. And I think he's done an absolute ton of audio work as Doctor Who. There's probably as much audio content as there is TV stuff for Doctor Who, and the Eighth Doctor gets his dues in audio form, I think. So that's quite tempting to get into, actually. But it's one of those things where like it's Pandora's box. Like I can't listen to one Doctor Who audio thing because God knows where I'm going to end up because there's so many hundreds and hundreds of them available.
Yeah, there was I can't remember the name of it for the life of me, but there was a Doctor Who documentary we watched at the Sci-Fi Film Festival, and it was really good. I think it was about Paul McGann and about Doctor Who fandom, and Paul McGann was on it talking about how he turned into Radio Doctor, and he got like another second life from that kind of fandom, which is really interesting. But yeah, I hope that kind of answers your question, Malcolm. We haven't given you a definitive answer, but I think it's hard.
Smith, definitive answer, final answer, Smith.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we have given you a definitive answer. It's Matt Smith. Take it or leave it.
So what's coming up on our show, James? We're going on our summer breaks. There's no more Mad Science for a few weeks until we return. But things are continuing on Patreon. You can always tune into our Patreon episodes. And what are we doing when we get back from our holidays?
Well, on Patreon today, we've actually got an episode dropping as well. We're covering Doomsday as our patron's pick from Jake. So we're looking at Doomsday from 2008, the post-apocalyptic film set in Scotland. There's been a big virus outbreak. It's Neil Marshall directing. And there's a whole lot of blood and action and crazy editing in that film. So we're discussing that over on Patreon at the moment.
We will also be covering 28 Years Later, as mentioned earlier in this episode. When that comes out, we'll be dropping an episode on the 26th of June. to cover that new and exciting Danny Boyle, Alex Garland film. God, I've talked that out so much, James. Imagine if it's just crap and I hate it. I really hope that's not the case.
Well, we'll put it straight in the other place we like to visit on Patreon,
Yeah.
the Bad Movie Bunker. And you won't have to wait 28 years for the next Bad Movie Bunker episode. That will be coming on the 10th of July. We're going to be covering The Time Guardian from 1987. Absolute madness, that film. Carrie Fisher's in it for some inexplicable reason. It's shot in Australia. It was supposed to be this big sci-fi film, and somehow, some way, it kind of lost its way. So we're going to discuss that over on Patreon on the 10th of July.
And when we return from our summer break, we'll be returning to our Mad Science series, getting pretty heavy, talking about some sinister cloning plots and psychological experiments. In our next installment of our Mad Science series, we will be discussing The Boys from Brazil from 1978 and Das Experiment from 2001.
Oh, that's a switch up. I feel like that's going to be a very tense episode, but also a very interesting one. I think there's a lot to cover in those two films. And yeah, like you say, it's going to be a bit of a dark one, I feel like.
That is all for today's Future Frontiers. If you want to hear more from us, please do subscribe to the show so you get every episode as soon as they're out.
We are all over social media, so if you want to get in touch and have a conversation, you can find us at Through Sci-Fi or at Through Sci-Fi Pod. You can also come and visit our website at journeythroughsci-fi.com.
Please support the show. A free and easy way to do that is to leave us a review with a comment saying what you like about the show. It's quick, it's easy, it's free, and it helps people discover what we do.
And as we have plugged plenty of times on the show, you can also come and visit us on Patreon. If you sign up to Patreon, you'll get access to all of our bonus episodes. There's hundreds of episodes over there of bonus content. So if you're looking for more over the summer, whilst we're on our summer break, head over there.
Have a lovely summer, listeners. We will be back very soon.
Bye.